Live from New York, this is WIUR Radio.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of your New York Sports Update. I'm your host, Ernest Patty for WIUR, and let's get started. The Giants have had some woes recently. Let's put it mildly, right? They can't seem to do anything right, no matter what the score is, and no matter what the front office does, and the higher ups. So yeah, we're kind of hurting right now. We're gonna go through kind of recent Giants news. We're gonna look at upcoming matchups. We're gonna look at how there's been some QB changes in the Giants quarterback room, and then we're gonna talk a little about baseball because I always have to sneak in my Yankees into this show, no matter what is happening with them. So let's get started, everybody. All right. If you didn't watch last weekend, the Bears and the Giants faced off in Soldier Field. And let's just say it looked fantastic for the first three quarters, except for the weather. It was horrible weather, but the Giants led the game 20-10 with 10 minutes and 19 seconds left in the game. Now, you're saying to yourself, oh my God, the Giants can pull it off. The Giants can stop the really hot Chicago Bears. But they couldn't. And we're left with a whole lot of nothing, right? So what went well? Well, Jackson Dart had a strong showing. He went 19 for 29 with 242 yards, 66 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Looked like he couldn't be stopped. They had a lead and controlled many parts of the game and appeared to be in command until the early in the fourth quarter. What didn't go well was the Giants could not close the game out, letting a 10-point lead with roughly 10 minutes left slip away in the final minutes. And then if it couldn't get any worse for the Giants that day and this season, Jackson Dart left the game with a concussion after going down on a pretty hard hit. And veteran Russell Wilson took over. Now, anytime Russell Wilson has entered the game, the team has either done really well and then lost, or really horribly and still lost. The offense just deflated after Dart came out, and they couldn't do anything. Now, I'm not gonna blame the entire game on the weather, right? But Russell Wilson is hot garbage. If we're gonna be frank with you. The Giants defense let up 2 touchdowns late in the game and ultimately just handed the Bears the win. Now, to give credit to the Chicago Bears, they look fantastic. Caleb Williams doesn't have the growing pains that he did last year. And so, they look great, but the Giants do not. Yeah. So we'll go a little bit through it. Let's see here. I don't even really want to go through this because it was just such a tough watch. But they were trailing 10 late in the game. There were a lot of drops in this game that led to a whole lot of nothing. But Giants had 10 penalties for 69 yards, and the Bears had 3 penalties for 25 yards. Now, when you give a team 69 extra yards, you're going to lose that game no matter what. And the Bears just capitalized off that. Now, the Giants did hold the ball a lot longer than the Bears, but the Bears were just more efficient in the time that they had. The Giants held it for just over 31 minutes, and the Bears held it for almost 29. So we'll go through Jackson Dart. Like I said, he went 19 for 29 and 242. There were no passing touchdowns for the Giants. Actually, they were all came from rushing touchdowns by Dart and a couple field goals. Tyrone Tracy, if you remember last week, it was Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, sort of like a committee backfield. But Tyrone Tracy did take over the backfield. He went 14 carries for 71 yards. Dart had 66 rushing yards. Devin Singletary came in with 8 rushes for 20 yards, and Russell Wilson managed to eke out 12 rushing yards. Receiving, though, Darius Slayton, 4 for 89. Theo Johnson, 7 for 75. Wandale Robinson, 6 for 62. And Devin Singletary actually played a pretty okay role in the passing game. But it's looking okay based off of these numbers here that Darius Slayton, Theo Johnson, and Wandale Robinson have sort of become the primary pass catchers now that Malik Neighbors is down, and so is Cam Scatterbo. You have the wide receivers stepping up, even though the wind and the weather made it really hard to catch the ball. These guys managed to still put up a decent performance without the touchdowns. Again, if you're a fantasy manager, you know you kind of rely on those guys to get a touchdown to really be relevant in your league. But other than that, you can kind of look at this and say like, okay, they're kind of bringing it back a little bit. Like they still look good, but from a just regular standpoint, you can't look at this Giants offense and be like, yeah, I'm going to start any of these guys, or you can't really have much faith in them either. On the other side, though, the Bears went. Caleb Williams went 20 for 36 with 220 yards and 1 touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown in this game with DeAndre Swift leading their backfield. He actually just came back from injury, which was kind of rough on the Giants defense, going for 13 carries and 80 yards. And then Kyle Monangai rounding out his day, actually stealing one of the touchdowns away from DeAndre Swift. So yeah, in recent Giants news, and if it couldn't get even worse for them, the Giants fired head coach Brian Daboll and kind of followed suit after the Titans let go of their head coach. So 2 head coaching positions already open. We'll see if what the Giants will do there. Will Mike Kafka will be taking over the offensive roles, and they're going to be starting Jameis Winston at quarterback this weekend against the Green Bay Packers. I personally think that is the better move than Russell Wilson. I have been saying that Jameis was better than Russ, even though Russ is a longer veteran, has been in the league longer than Jameis. And he has a Super Bowl under his belt. But I think that's a good move with going with Jameis Winston, but I think it's a bad move going with or firing Coach Daboll. I think they should have gotten rid of Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator. The defense has looked terrible in any game they've played. They've managed to get a lead, right? And they managed to hold these teams, but just later in the second half, whether it's the third or the fourth, they just keep giving up points wherever. So I think that was a terrible move getting rid of the head coach, but I think it's a good move that they're starting Jameis over Russ. Jameis is one of those guys, and I'll dig deeper into his stats coming up. But yeah, Jameis is one of those guys that is hit or miss. And so we'll get a little bit deeper into that as we go. But the Giants are taking on the Packers. The Packers are 5-3-1, famously off a tie with the Dallas Cowboys. And they're a pretty good football team, despite their kind of like weird record, right? They have a very good offense, but their defense also has been weird. And their offense has not produced as much as you probably think they should have. So we'll take a look at their matchups, the matchup coming up. So the Packers get a hurting New York Giants offense and a quite leaky defense. Um, the With the new coaching staff, you got uh, Coach Kafka coming in, who could shock us, right, and call a good football game, and kind of make some magic happen with Jameis Winston. But I personally don't see that as likely. Again, the Giants are just in this weird transitional phase of if we're rebuilding or if we're not. Um, they did nothing at the trade deadline, and you know they can't really seem to find an answer on offense. Whether it's no matter what quarterback is commanding the offense, but again, they're just they're kind of all over the place. Um, the thing to look out for when facing the Green Bay Packers. Packers have a total of 3,144 total offensive yards in 9 games, averaging about 350 yards per game. They've passed for 2,247 of those, with Jordan Love coming in with a roughly 70% completion uh, percentage. Um, and on the ground, they've rushed for 1,007 total yards, averaging about 111 yards per game. They're averaging 23.7 points per game, which ranks roughly 15th in the league. Um, and then, you know, they've got a lot of good pieces on offense, right? You've got Jordan Love, who plays really well. I think he's a great quarterback. You've got Josh Jacobs, a very good veteran, who's putting up very good numbers, despite their rushing yards not being crazy high, right? He's not touchdown dependent, but he puts up a lot of points regardless, if you're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint. But this whole offense has been humming pretty well. It does matter that they lost tight end Tucker Kraft, who was, I think, Jordan Love's number one target. He did get back Christian Watson from injury, and a few other guys have either come back or gone on IR. So, be another thing to look at when you're looking at the offense. Their weaknesses, though, they haven't scored many points per game, even though 23.7 is relatively high when you're in the division that they're in. That's not going to really cut it with some of the teams out there. You got to be scoring more points. 111 yards of rushing yards per game ranks them 20th in the league. And with them facing the Giants, I feel like the Giants have to stop the run game. So we'll take a look at their defense right now. The Giants have allowed 1,230 rushing yards on 285 carries in 10 games, which averages out to 123 yards per game with 4.3 yards per carry. Kind of shows that they're a pretty leaky defense when it comes to the run game. Their pass defense, they average 230 passing yards per game, which is not great. They've allowed 2,461 passing yards with 65% with a 65% completion rate against them. So their pass defense is like middle to below average in terms of efficiency. When you have cornerbacks like Paulson and Debo, Deontay Banks, Cordero Flott, and then safeties Javon Holland and Tyler Nubin, you expect these guys to make plays and actually help defend. But it's pretty clear that they are not great at defending. On third down, the Giants have allowed 45 conversions on 120 third down attempts, which is like a 37% average. They're somewhat competitive on third down, though they're not elite. It's been tough watching the Giants in important spots, and they need to get a stop, and they can't. So yeah, it's kind of rough for them, but who knows? From a red zone scoring percentage, the Giants are just not great. They're, letting up a lot of points per game and just giving teams opportunity time and time after that doesn't allow, the offense to really get much rest. Um, Comparing them to the league at large, the Giants rank 23rd in passing yards allowed per game out of the 30 teams that are in the NFL. So not great. They uh they allow, anywhere from 260 to 270 yards per game or less. And again, just allowing 4.3 yards per rush is better than most, but still and lands them in that bottom half of teams. Um, so what does this mean for the Giants matchup against the Green Bay Packers? They'll need to stop the pass. The Packers are getting almost 250 yards per game and are pretty efficient through the air. When you've got guys like Christian Watson, you've got Luke Musgrave, the backup tight end, who was their tight end one last year. Um, when you have a tight end room like that as well, with Tucker Kraft, who actually just went down, they're pretty dominant when those guys are on the field. And then you have guys like Romeo Dobbs, who can make plays deep down the field. So yeah, the Giants need to stop the pass game. Um, so yeah, I think we'll take a quick break and then we'll be back with looking at Jameis Winston and some baseball stats. So stay tuned.
And I hope you're enjoying today's show. Have you ever wanted to call the biggest games, the biggest moments for the biggest names for Iona Athletics? Then the newly founded WIUR Sports Radio is the place to be. Launched in January of 2025, our goal is to try and get broadcasters here at Iona an opportunity to learn, succeed, and get a chance to be on air. From getting to call the big moments at the hack,
Jenkins trying to go to the rack. Denied! Yafet Mundi with
to seeing the crack of the bat at City Park.
the line drive into left field, around third, and it kicks away. The Gales are going to win it in 10.
We make those moments happen on our brand new WIUR Sports Radio platform on Mixer. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me via email or to the rest of my e-board to join the club. We are WIUR Sports Radio, the new home of Iona Athletics. Now, back to the show on WIUR, Iona University Radio.
And welcome back to your New York Sports Update. I'm Ernest Patty. Let's keep it rolling. So the Giants will be starting Jameis Winston at quarterback tomorrow. And for those who don't know Jameis Winston, he actually was a first overall pick in the 2015 NFL draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's one of those guys that's great in the locker room. He was pretty competitive in his first couple of years in Tampa Bay, but he has had a problem with interceptions. But recently, we've seen a lot of videos of him goofing around in the locker room, whether that's his post-game, pre-game or pre-game interviews, and any other social media, TikTok, Reels, stuff like that. You see him, be one of those guys that's really, bubbly in the locker room and kind of takes over the spotlight a little bit. But I think he's one of those guys that's really impactful for the team morale as a whole. And I think he can get the offense, one or two more wins. I think the Giants have one of the toughest schedules in the entire NFL. And I mean, they're not getting any better, right? No acquisitions at the deadline and kind of just no trades really to get any more draft capital or what. So yeah, I don't see the Giants going anywhere with Jameis Winston at quarterback, but hopefully we can see something, a little glimmer of hope this weekend. But Jameis Winston, throughout his career, his regular season totals include just under 1,950 completions, on 3,178 attempts, with a completion percentage around 61%. He has 24,225 passing yards, and he's got 154 passing touchdowns to 111 interceptions. So basically, for every touchdown he throws an interception in that game. On the ground, though, he does have 1,297 rushing yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. So he's got around like a 4.0 yards per carry there. If you just look at that, he looks pretty good. But you don't want to look at his passing touchdown to interception ratio. I think moving forward, the Giants should stick with him no matter what happens. When you're facing a team like Green Bay that has a defense with Micah Parsons, you don't really see much hope for them, right? So, just moving forward, I think the Giants should stick with him no matter what. I don't think Russ gives them that, breath of life that they need to get anything going. So we'll see. I'm pretty hopeful that we can get, like Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns version of Jameis, where, he just came out slinging. But again, you look at this team and you're like, man, these guys don't look good at all. So I don't know. I think we'll take what we can get. Previously, Jameis Winston led the NFL in passing yards in 2019 with 5,109. Kind of ridiculous for quarterback. But then I think that COVID season after just hurt him in general, right? He bounced around from a few teams. He was on Tampa Bay and then the Saints and then Cleveland Browns and then the Giants. If I'm missing a team in there, he's one of those career backups that, never really found his stride. But he remains pretty relevant as a backup quarterback. The Giants did sign him to a 1-year deal this past offseason. I think it should have been the other way around, where they signed Russell Wilson for 2 years. I think they should have signed Jameis for 2 years and Russ for 1. And then I think they should have started with Russ at quarterback. Then we realized, which they did, and then realized that Russ is not the answer, even though he gave us that amazing game in Dallas. I think they should have stuck with Russ until it was clear that Russ was not the quarterback. And then they moved on to Jameis. And then Jameis, if he played somewhat decently or somewhat, terribly, I think then they should have put Dart in and given him just a little bit more time to get ready, because Dart has taken hit after hit. He's already been evaluated for 4 concussions already. There's that famous clip of Dart and Scadaboo running to the blue tent trying to check on him and make sure he was okay. That is kind of concerning from a health standpoint, where you want your rookie quarterback to have a long career, right? You spend a top or a late to early first round pick on him, and you don't want to see him go down, within the first 10 weeks of the season. You don't want to shut him down too early, right? So I think they should have managed their quarterback situation a little better, but I get it. The Giants were desperate. Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, their jobs were both on the line for this one. And I think Joe Shane, there's been, clips surfacing, and I should have pulled it up, but there are clips surfacing of the way that Joe Shane was talking in the draft room before taking Dart in the first round, or trading back into the first round for Dart. I think there's like some media trained wording in there that made it seem like Dart was Daboll's pick, and when it's really kind of his pick, right? So anyway, I don't like Joe Shane more than anybody, or than the next guy. But I really do think they should have cleaned house with the GM and the defensive coordinator. But those are my own gripes with this organization. But yeah, I think they should probably shut Dart down for a couple weeks. just to give him more time to heal and to practice his sliding and going down, before he gets demolished by a linebacker or a defensive tackle. I think he's just taking unnecessary hits, and it's not good for a rookie. It's not good for a team, and it's also not good for his health. And you don't want him to end up like Scadaboo, who's in a boot and recovering from a pretty gruesome injury. So anyway, with that being said, Jameis Winston is coming in trying to give, as like a lifeboat, right, for the Giants. So hopefully we can see something good from them. Yeah. Anyway, a little bit of encouraging news in the 7 starts that Jameis Winston made with Cleveland last season. He threw for 2,121 yards with 13 touchdowns, and like I said, 12 interceptions. Again, like for every touchdown, he throws an interception. So if we get Jameis of 2019 with 5,109 yards, that would be nice. But hopefully, we don't get current Jameis with a touchdown and an interception every game. So yeah, that's what I got on the Giants. Hopefully, we see something good this weekend. They take on Green Bay at 1 p.m. So stay tuned for that, and we'll go over the post game next week. Now, just a little bit of baseball news because the GMs just had or the owners meetings just happened in Vegas, and some other crazy news happened as well. You've got we'll start with awards that happened this week. Last night, Tariq Skubal won the American League Cy Young, becoming one of the few pitchers to win it in back-to-back seasons. You have Paul Skeens, who won the National League Cy Young unanimously, joining an exclusive list of dominant pitchers. And in just 2 years, he's won the Rookie of the Year and the Cy Young. I mean, this guy can throw 105 or like 110, whatever he can reach, easily, and pitch that for 6-7 innings. And yeah, those two guys are going to be interesting to see it's going to be interesting to see where those two guys end up. You have Tariq Skubal, who is rumored to be either traded or signed to free agency. You have Paul Skeens, who just came out, and now this is my weekly Yankees push. You've got a former teammate of his released information that he was always saying in the locker room that he wanted to throw for the Yankees. To mention him, and so as a Yankees fan, you're a little delusional, thinking, "Oh my God, we could get Skeens in the future." But then you also have to realize that you have to give a guy like that like a 15-year, $500 million contract, and I mean, he looks a little bit more stable than Soto, right? I mean, even though Juan Soto had a great season, yeah, whatever, trader. You've got a guy, an elite pitcher, without a doubt, coming through, and yeah, he's going to be one of those guys that once he hits free agency, will be highly sought after. And so hopefully it doesn't go to the Dodgers, because I do not like the Dodgers, and they're going to give him like a boatload of deferred money, and it's not going to be good for baseball. And here we go. We're going to snowball. It's going to be a snowball effect. In other high value news, Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz, both pitchers on the Cleveland Guardians, were charged in a scheme involving fraudulent sports bets and rigged pitches. For those who don't know, they were involved in rigged poker games, and they were solicited for throwing horrible pitches at the top of the inning, right? A bunch of sports books will say, ask you if you want to bet on the first pitch of an inning, right? So say Emmanuel Clase was a closing pitcher, and he would come in, in high leverage situations, whether that was the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, and he would either hit it right in the strike zone or throw a ball completely in the dirt. And if you were someone who was betting on games, you could select the first pitch of the 7th inning would be a ball, right? And you could wager X amount of money on it. And, if he did that, right, it would if he threw a ball, you would make a boatload of money. But he was doing that in connection with the mob and all these crazy people. So it's been a huge FBI raid, and he was actually arrested today at JFK Airport. So yeah, other teams are making giant waves for new players, and they're already making roster moves and clearing up space for big names. You've got a big name in Kyle Tucker, left fielder, currently looking for a big contract. So he's going to be one of those guys to look for at the trade deadline. And just a few hours before I got on the show, Garrett Wilson, the wide receiver for the New York Jets, was just placed on IR. So if you have him on your fantasy team, just drop him at this point. The Jets are no longer a relevant fantasy team. Well, that's just it for me on this week's edition of your New York Sports Update. I'm Ernest Patty for WIUR. Catch us back here next week, and please feel free to subscribe. Thanks.